LANCESCURV, whatever you're going to call it. Wow. It's a beautiful morning. It's a beautiful morning. It really is. You know, the title of this particular segment is We Are at War. But as I look over the mountains and see the beauty of creation, I can't help but think and ask myself, over the countless hundreds of thousands of years, how many wars were executed, strategized in the space in which I stand? But now it's beautiful. And you got to think, there are places in the world where there were wars that were executed, but we don't have a clue about any of it. And where those wars were waged, the landscape is beautiful because the war is over at that time. And while there was rubble, structures knocked down, while there was death and mass casualties, the physical bodies have gone back to the earth, the minerals in that body, the water, the blood. But here we come, generations after, countless generations after, and we know not what happened. We don't know. We have no clue. There are many things that have happened long before recorded history. And we have our existence in the present. And again, we have no clue what went on before. But there are energies on this earth that we don't see. In the present time, as we go about our own way, there are energies that move about. And oftentimes, we have no clue in the present. The same way we didn't have a clue about wars past fought. So what am I trying to get at? War has always been, is definitely going on now, and always will be. As long as you have factions that are disgruntled, the extreme insecurities, the measuring up to, not wanting to go through the process of going higher from within, but wanting to elevate by taking down a more powerful force externally. And sometimes you have that more powerful force that wants to dominate. And not to get too political, because in what they call the news and news platforms, it's compromised. Most of us know that now. So we look at the news in a way where we take what we can take as far as what we can reason to be good, and leave what we can't use behind. How do we know this? Well, for example, if you take a CNN network, Fox News network for news, and they report on the same story. They may have the same basic facts, but the fluff around the facts, the things that have nothing to do with the facts, can be altered slightly. Why do they do this? Because they want to influence the facts for you to see it from their perspective. I've seen news anchors, usually the female, because a study was done when you have a male anchor next to a female anchor, most eyes are on the female. If you have a male and female anchor, news person, and she happens to not have a platform in front of her, and she has a very alluring, shapely pair of legs, the male viewer, and not only some of the male viewers, tend to keep their eyes on that channel longer because subconsciously they're attracted to the female form. So if she has a hand in reporting a story and puts out the facts as other news platforms do, if she doesn't favor something about that story that may involve two sides in war, if she favors that one side over the other, when she mentions the other side, she may quickly give an expression, not rolling of the eyes, not something so obvious, but something very subtle. You see, these people are very well trained in how they deliver the news. And why am I saying this? Because they're no different than the whispering spirits in our lives. The whispering spirits will never take a bullhorn and be straight up and go down to the town square and speak their mind. Usually when you do that, you're ostracized, you're criticized, and whatever other size there is. So most fraudulent entities in the propaganda on either side of war prefer to work in the shadows. And when put on Front Street, everybody behaves in fraudulent unison while giving kicks to the other side that the world can't see. So we can break this down into our personal lives. We are at war, most definitely. So why do I have a picture on the banner that I quickly threw together of Scarface? What does he have to do with this? Scarface, even though he was soon to be deleted on the movie Scarface, which is a classic, and I'm quite sure most have seen it, he was at a point of being fed up. Some say paranoia. And they'll quickly say, oh, you're being paranoid. I'm being paranoid? I'm telling you, there's a big rock in the yard, and there's all kind of hidden, ugly, bad-bodied insects crawling around under there. Because I got a peek under it one day. And I always knew what was under the rock, but I didn't say anything. Now you're telling me that I'm paranoid. Well, if you think I'm paranoid, why don't you go over there and lift up the rock so you can see for yourself that there are hidden entities in our yard, in our world, that won't come out until it's safe at night, where they can whisper freely and not be seen, to slant the facts the way those news anchors who have a certain position on the facts and want you to think a certain way to one side of the war that they're against, covertly. But those of us who are wise, we are warriors prepared for war. Even if we didn't have the advantage of Doppler radar, you know, when you turn on the news or you go onto your phone to see how the weather is going to be for that day and for the rest of the week, we have Doppler radar. We didn't have that all the time. We didn't have that many decades ago, but we have it now. So we got to understand that when we look at the weatherman or the weatherwoman or the weather channel speak about the weather in our region, what's coming, we can prepare for that day. We can prepare for the weather if they tell us 90% chance of rain today. But you know, you might be in that 10% of a region where it doesn't get rain. Many people were always confused about the percentages. It doesn't mean it's definitely going to rain in your area unless they say in this region it's going to be 100% rain, precipitation. Other than that, if they said 99%, you might be the 1% that doesn't get it. But if they said 99%, pretty much, if you're willing to gamble, you're not going to gamble, because you need to take your umbrella, you need to take your raincoat, your galoshes, whatever, body condom, whatever it may be that keeps the rain off of you, because you're wise and you listen to that knowledgeable voice that has access to Doppler radar. Well, why am I talking about that? Well, you saw what was under the rock. You saw the entities that were crawling around. Others didn't see it. You might have a sidekick that saw it too. And so when you have this realization and you come to this knowledge of what's brewing up under the rock, what do? You prepare. You have the missiles, the whisperings aimed at you. Well, you have yours aimed right on back. Now, other countries in war can say all the bad things they want because they're in their country. But now, if you're trying to invade the country that I'm in, do you think I'm going to sit there and let you terrorize the citizens of my country? Am I going to let you put propaganda in the ears of the citizens in my country? You think I'm going to sit by and let you do what you want to do to destroy my country? No, it's not paranoia. I know what's under the rock. And just like Scarface, well, it was amped up. He was sniffed up. And it's not the kind of awareness or stimulation into awareness that I would want to have. There's nothing good about cocaine. But he was right on point when he knew his enemies were coming for him. He was right on point for doing what he had to do as one who was prepared for the enemy to come and snuff him out. So I'm with him on that. I can't knock him. But in the ways of spiritual warfare, I don't need to listen to a weatherman to know what the weather is in the atmosphere is. I observe the skies. I don't need Doppler radar. I said radio. Doppler radio. I don't need it. I've learned when I was in Florida, when there is a heavy rain coming, there was always precipitation. There was always rain, because Florida, the state of Florida, basically is a three-sided island. It's not an island all the way where it's detached and waterlocked, but you have three sides of it that's stuck out into the water. So pretty much it's a distant cousin of an island, so it will behave like an island. You have the East Coast, right? You have the West Coast. You have the part that's southernmost, that coast there in the south. And with so many things going on around that place called Florida, you don't know where the rain is coming from. You don't know if it's going to rain today at this place or that place, how harsh it travels, the smaller storms. So as those rains come, you got to really be on point. You learn to live with it, because the elements, although they're essential, rain is essential to grow our food or vegetables or fruit, to feed the animals that some may eat. But your home, if left unprotected, it can destroy it. Hurricanes come in to rip off the roof. Tornadoes come and level homes. I think back to the time that I lived in Florida, approximately 19 years. And I say to myself, what the hell was I thinking about? You go on for a good time with good weather, but here it comes. They say by what, 2050? Or maybe a little more, that Miami and Tampa will be completely underwater, and who knows what else. So we have to be prepared by looking at the signs around us, looking at those unseen things that most people don't see that's crawling around under the rock, listening to the whispering spirits that are drumming up a feeling of war. And you mean I'm paranoid when I see what I see? Sometimes and oftentimes, we're already in the war and don't even realize it in our personal lives. There are forces that come at you. They shield themselves behind a smiling face and a good word. But when that's removed, or when actions are revealed, you see things for what they are, but you're not shocked because you always knew. You see, when a sniper defending his country way up on the mountaintop, he's looking over the next horizon because he was tipped off. See, being tipped off is a good thing. So they knew to set up defense on many levels, but up in the mountains, you can see everything. The sniper sees the enemy coming in the middle of the night. And the sniper doesn't always want his presence to be known. He doesn't get mad at the enemy and say, hey, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to snuff you out. I'm going to delete you. No, he doesn't do that. He patiently waits for the enemy to get a little closer, so it makes his shot easier. And when he strikes, he has the element of surprise. The same way that the enemy who crossed the border, or rather in this case, crossed the line. And the sniper let him come a little closer. You were already in my country. You're already in my house. You're already on my land. You violated already to have this thought in your head to be in the place, in the space that I occupy. So I'm going to sit here and let the bugs who want to bite me in the middle of the night live under the rock thinking it's unseen from me. I see it all. I'm the sniper. So I'll wait for you to get a little closer. And you think you have the element of surprise in your favor. But when you get to where I'm comfortable to put it between the eyes, because I've been wanting to do this for a while, but as a righteous assassin and a warrior prepared for war, I know how to control my emotions. So I squeeze the trigger. I got the scope right on your forehead. I ain't using no red dot. I've been doing this for a while. I don't need the guidance of the red dot to know that I'm on target. I'm an old wily veteran whose mother from single-digit ages taught me about spiritual warfare, taught me about the tactics of the enemy, taught me the ways of defending myself. There's stages in this thing. Let me tell you something. I said it before. Whether you believe it to be fact or allegory. But Judas sat next to Jesus, eating at the table, enjoying himself. Everybody thought we were on one accord at the table sitting next to Jesus. But guess what? Judas had his own thoughts. He was planning the death and destruction of Jesus as he sat right next to him eating. Ain't that something? That you can have somebody so close, but they got this in their heart for you. If it can happen, again, fact or allegory, it doesn't matter. It's the point of the story. If they can do this to Jesus and sit next to him symbolically, remember, extract the good out of the story, which you can use. Because if you look at your life, how many times have you had to deal with a Judas that you never knew existed? A Judas that you would have given your life for? A Judas that you have helped time and time again? A Judas that you've worked along with them and had good feelings and wanted the best for them. And at the same time, they had it in for you. Wow. As a youngster coming up and hearing these stories, I found it to be unbelievable because I was also taught to see the good in people. But as the years go by, I have to say, and I've said this before, I was having a little party, and being someone who is in their 20s, mid-20s, early 20s, 22, 23, 24, right around in there, you know, we tend to want to sample the carnal things in life. There was a knock on the door. It was an older man who I knew. I know by his age then and the time that it is now that has passed, pretty much he may not be with us. I'm quite sure of that because he would probably be lauded as the world's oldest man by now, and he's not, so I know he's not here. But the beauty of that, and the beauty of the fact that we're not all born at the same time, at the same age, we have people who are older than us, and it doesn't mean when you have the chronological age that you have wisdom. But this man, from what I learned, was a little worldly. In his past, he was a merchant seaman. Just like truck drivers, they travel all over the place, and you know, when they stop, a lot of things go on. But when I let him in the hallway, the door flew open to the more private part of my premises. And he got a good look-see of what was going on behind my closed doors. And I quickly closed the door to save the ladies that were there shame. But they had no shame. So I turned around and looked at him, and he had a smirk on his face. He said, Lance, I'm not going to hold you back from the fun you're having now. And in actuality, the fun you think you're having now. I'm not mad at you, brother. I was a young man too. But let me leave you with this, because I'm just passing through and I want to check on you. And that was the last time I saw him. I never saw Mr. Julius again after that. He was actually a friend of one of my godmothers. And when I say friend, there was a lot more to their friendship that I was aware of, but that was none of my business when I was much younger. I knew. So he came around to visit his friend, who was my godmother, in the neighborhood. And he always liked me as a young man, so he came to check on me. So this is what he said. He said, Lance, you have a lot of people around you. You have a whole lot of people around you who you may think that everybody inside your premises may be for you. I can guarantee you, all of those who are here don't love you, but have your fun. But the one thing I want to tell you is that the older you get, and what he meant, the chronological years, the older you get in this lifetime, is the more and more that you're going to want to be alone and be by yourself. I said, wow. I could understand what he was saying, but I really couldn't comprehend it all the way, because there was a door behind me that I wanted to go back and get back into. But as the years went on in my life, and I realized the Judas effect in my life, I began to become a little more careful. But at the same time, there was the thing in me that wanted to see the good. But like I said earlier, oftentimes we're walking around in la la land in our own happiness, not realizing that we have the cross threads of the enemy from the other sniper that's on the roof, even though you're not encroaching on their territory. They just have it in for you. For whatever reason, if you have a brand new car, now the people who don't have a car or have an old car, they don't like you because you got a brand new car. The ones that are immature, because not everybody's against you, but you got to understand, whatever you don't see, you have to assume that there's more. Have you ever seen an exterminator who was summoned to come to a premises to spray out the roaches? And he shows up in the daytime. No exterminator gets to the front door and says, I don't see no roaches. You must have it wrong. You need to save your money because I don't see any roaches. But any veteran exterminator who has been at this for a few years knows that the roaches hide when everybody can see them, because the chances of them getting snuffed are greater. The roaches come out at night and they do their thing then. So an exterminator who has a modicum of experience knows the ways of the roach. And maybe I should have titled this, not We Are at War, but maybe The Ways of the Roach. But I'll do one like that on a longer video, because this is not going to last forever. This is my warm-up video for the day. So he knows through experience to go under the refrigerator. He knows from experience to go and open up the cabinet doors and there's a crack in the wall spray in there. Spray around the edges of where they travel. And the scent of this thing is so powerful that you sometimes have to run out of your own premises like you're the roach. So you know that if it's bothering you that way and you want that exterminator to be there, it's going to be effective. And he says, listen, after I'm done, go out, go to the mall, go to the restaurant, sit down and enjoy a meal, because this thing is going to be powerful. And I want you to keep your windows closed so there's no ventilation to help get rid of what I'm about to spray. We want them all to inhale this, to touch this, to snuff them out. It's a form of warfare. The roaches want to take over your premises. The roaches hide in the cabinets and in dark places and congregate with each other. And this is what makes it so bad in our personal lives. Whether you are a person who has a platform on YouTube or many social media platforms, or do things in a very transparent way in the light, shining your light. See, the roaches, they have to feign like they have a light. And sometimes we don't see them for the roaches that they are. And we get fooled. But when we're gone, they're under the fridge, in the cupboards, up in the cupboards, crawling around, watching you from the dark. Even when you cut the light on in your kitchen, you best believe there are legions. If you have roaches like this, I'm not throwing off on anybody here to say you have roaches. I'm not calling you nasty. But roaches have been here for a long time, prehistoric times, and chances are, if some of these nukes get let off and the world gets destroyed, somewhere, somehow, there'll be a roach. But the thing is, they're watching you. They're hiding in the cracks and the crevices. And see, today, in 2023, and basically roughly for the last 20 years, we got this thing called social media. Those are the modern day cracks and crevices where the enemy hides as they plan their attack. Social media, direct messages, DMs, where you can talk to somebody and plot the downfall of somebody and share your venom behind closed doors, under that rock, or under the cupboards as the insect or roach of the darkness that you are. You got too many to list now. You got Facebook, of course. You got YouTube, and many will go and drag to be something that they're not, project something to the world that they're not. Like a linebacker built man who wants to put on a dress with a size 13 pumps. It's quite obvious by the awkward way he walks that it's not a woman. And some who are caught up in the lust of the imagery of a woman in the middle of the night and they got to get that thing are often fooled, never realizing that man has or that woman he thinks has a 5 o'clock shadow. So now we can fester up with our battle plan. We can get in the huddle. Just like in a football team, let's congregate. Let's whisper to each other, but we don't have to whisper anymore. We can speak loudly on our attack. You have Instagram. You got LinkedIn. You got Facebook, of course. You got, my God, there's so many apps, so many platforms, so many ways to conspire and plan your attack. Oh, I forgot. You got Discord. Oh, that Discord. Oh, that Discord. But see, with all of these platforms, what has the enemy running scared is that, as in war, because that's mental and spiritual on these platforms in our personal life, but as in war, you have people who care about you, who care about your welfare, who care that you win the war. And they're specialists. And they know how to work the technology to bust through the digital fence or the digital wall of the enemy. And sometimes we'll do this for you without you ordering it. Because in your mind, you're like, I'm not going that far. But you got your troops behind you. And they believe in what you're doing. They've seen how you've run your country in righteousness for so long. And they're going to do things to protect you, even if it's behind your back. So when they're the specialists and they're able to pierce through the enemy's defenses and their communications to say, hey, listen, I know you wouldn't condone me doing this, but here's the buzz in the communications. And we need to prepare for war. We need to be that warrior prepared for war. So what do? Twiddle your thumbs? No. The shock of it is over. See, by the time the people realize that there's a war going on, you already knew it was coming to that. Sometimes you know for months, sometimes you know for years. And that's what it's all about. And nobody wants to get up and snuff people, kill people. Nobody wants that. But when you know that they're coming for you to corrode your country, to collapse your economy, to take out anything good from you for their benefit, but they ain't supporting the good workings of their country, we can't be allies. You act like allies, but you doing things destructive in the huddle of the DM, in the huddle of the Discord, in the huddle of the Instagram DN or Facebook mailbox. Then we get into WhatsApp. Then we get into text messages. And then we have the group chats. So many rocks for the bugs to hide behind. So many cupboards for the roaches to hide under. So once you realize that the negative infestation in your world of these entities, the Judases that plan your demise, you realize that something must be done. You realize that something must be done. And you can't take a step back, because for you to sleep on the threat of what is there to corrode what you've worked so hard for them to come in on your news platform and throw a look on their face, to be used as propaganda against what you're doing, they must be slashed. And then you realize, hey, wait a second. If I'm country number one and the enemy is country number two, then country number three, who is up under country number two, I can't embrace them and tell them what I'm going to do, because they're probably going to go back and tell country number two what I'm doing. So if country number two is my enemy and country number three is all up under them all day, every day, guess what? Country number three is my enemy. That's the way you protect yourself. You know, I like the music of rapper 50 Cent, who is really a businessman, and he's expanded his resume beyond what many thought he would ascend to. And it makes me proud being from the same place in Queens, New York, that he's from. I was born in Manhattan, and at 5.5 years old, moved to Queens with my folks. So I have a Manhattan mentality, but also the Queens mentality. And those who come from New York City back in that time understand the mindset of that time. Many who are around now don't know it. It doesn't exist anymore. Queens was looked at as, oh, who do you think you are? You left Manhattan with the apartment buildings and you went and bought a house. And when you're a child, those little houses that were so close together look like mansions. And when you would go into Manhattan, not everybody, but the air was this way in the atmosphere. That when you would go into Manhattan or be around folks who had to go home to a cramped apartment and you had a yard that didn't match the yards that were out on Long Island, but it was better than being in a cramped apartment. You had your own room. You can walk around your whole house. You now had a dog. You had your little piece of suburbia. So because of that, many who were from Brooklyn and Manhattan who didn't live in houses felt that you were bougie. You think you better. You're soft. But then when the crack epidemic came around and people who were lusting after that money and killings started and strong-arm tactics started and desperation was there, it took the negative situation of that epidemic to happen to show that there's some rough customers out in Queens, hence 50 Cent. Whether it's fabricated or not, his background. You can't fake bullet wounds. Maybe you can. Maybe it adds to the folklore, right? But he thought a certain way. And I have to say, he's a little younger than me, but I kind of think the same way too. You're straight up with 50 Cent, he got no problem with you. But when you start plotting stuff, I'm going to get you first. And so with so many people that love you or loved him, he had his enemies, but he had people on his crew that would tip him off. And this is why to this day, whether he went into the gray area and maybe did a few things that might have been heavy-handed, we know the industry, how it is. We understand that. That aided him. Maybe he did sell his soul. Who knows? But from what I'm seeing and what he reflects off of the mentality of many who come from where I lived and grew up, this is the reason why he's successful to this day. Because it's either you or me. The Judases will be there. But you ain't nailing me to no cross. I'm sorry. There was one Jesus Christ and it ain't me. If you try to get me on that cross, I'm going to bury you under it. I ain't Jesus. So don't expect me to turn the other cheek. This is the problem when you have an exterior that is genteel, that is soft-spoken. But you got to understand, it's not a New York thing. It's Chicago. It could be LA. It could be Dallas. It could be Miami. But the most vicious gangsters you'll ever run into are the biggest gentlemen, the most soft-spoken, the ones who are not trying to bring attention to themselves. The other ones that you think, the big muscle dudes who are out there, they may work along with the gangsters because they have their job to do. But the one who's given the orders will give the order to wipe you off the face of the earth, and he'll go ahead to a nice restaurant, think nothing of it, and enjoy a nice meal. See, that's how it's done. Because spiritual warfare is real. And you have to be that one who is a warrior ready for war and prepared for war. See? Because see, with spiritual warfare, you don't see it. You have an enemy over there, you have another one behind you. You got another one handling your paperwork. You got one there from afar on top of the mountain waiting to get a good shot at you. Now, do you live paranoid? No, because you have your forces. But one thing in war, you cannot be afraid to pull the trigger. You're not going to have an enemy that's going to turn around and be your friend. Do you think Judas could have been convinced by somebody to not want for Jesus what he wanted for Jesus? Well, let me tell you, Satan was kicked out of heaven. Satan was God's right-hand man. Satan damn near knew everything God knew. If God, for some reason, he's God, so nobody's going to snuff him. He's top of the food chain. But if for some reason God was to be removed from the equation of all of our existence, which is impossible, guess who number one would have been? Satan. So Satan now couldn't have it because he ain't as mighty as God. You're right, Gina G. This is my first time looking into the chat room. And I have to put your comment up. Right. Judas was all about him and his mission and goal. So when you are the symbolic God, not that I'm saying anybody's God, but when you're the HNNC, head Negro in charge of your area that you control, that you built, you're always going to have that one, that Judas, who's all about their own mission and goal and promotion. They may say a kind word to get by the radar of what you already saw, but it's all about them. When Satan comes, I am here. You're talking about this, but no, you must stop it and be about me. Me. I know everything. You're doing whatever you're doing, but when I step into the room and when they don't get it, they get pissed. So whatever rumblings were going on up in heaven, I'm talking to allegory now. I'm not saying, don't argue with me. Hey, man, you talk about Christian. Well, I thought you said, shut up. You know how I'm talking. So whatever rumblings in heaven, see, God knows everything. I was telling somebody the other day, you don't have to fear being in your house when you hear a bump in the night. You dare not cut the lights on inside when you hear something outside, because the person on the outside can see clearly into the window if they are looking in. You know where your coffee table is. You know where that other table is, and where that bench, and where that, all the things in your home, you know where they are. So why are you scared in the dark when you hear a bump in the night outside? Because if someone was to come in, do you think they know the layout of your home unless they were a former friend that knows inside? Chances are they might be, but you have rearranged your furniture already. So if they come in, all you got to do is cut the lights out and duck and wait. Now, unless they have a flashlight, which I don't think they'll do because they don't want to reveal that they're there and catch one between the eyes, they might fall over the coffee table. They might not see you on the side of the couch with the butcher knife in your hand, or that peace that will have them rest in peace, and probably not peace. See, when you know what it is that you do, and you know every nook and cranny of what you do, and you have others who they'll say to you on a text message when the person's trying to break in, hey, I got your back. I see them. If you don't get them, I will. And this is why it bugs people who are coming for you, that when you have individuals who they can't angle just right, I'm trying to get at Jesus and snuff him out, but there's somebody next to him whispering in his ear. Let's try to find out who it is. And when they find out that that person, this is not part of anything that was in the Bible, I'm just making this up as we go away. When they find out that the person is in full support of Jesus, they hate it because they're about the destruction. And we can't have nobody upholding Jesus when we're trying to come and collapse everything he's all about. This is how it works. The insects under the rock that you don't see. You're laying back in your lawn chair, eating some good food, and there's some creatures under that thing that are so ugly that may have a vicious bite, but you won't see them because they're not going to reveal themselves. So when it comes time to you being a warrior, prepared for war, In spiritual warfare, there is nothing wrong with defending yourself. There is nothing wrong with putting a bullet between the eyes of the enemy. There's nothing wrong with you doing a Scarface, as you can see on the banner, and defending your turf. You're supposed to do that. But see, we have cats around here, the actual animal cats. And when the cat is young and aggressive and in the house, you don't have to worry about the mice. The mice smells the cat and flees to another house because we can't have our way there. Because they know that the cat is made. The reflexes, the speed, the agility, the ability to see at night under the rock, where the whispering spirits are in their DMs and on Discord and on Instagram and on Facebook, text messages and WhatsApp. They can see all of that, so they run. But if there's no cat there, the mice have their way. And the minute you bring the cat home, and the mice think it's another night and another day as usual. You know, you're making a cheese sandwich and then drop a little tiny piece of cheese and it rolls up under the fridge. That's a meal for a mouse. The crumbs and things that you think are insignificant, it's feeding them. Ain't that something? So the cat's there and he does his job. Whatever mice got killed, oh well, and the other ones are going to flee. But sometimes we feed the cat a little too much. Sometimes the cat is a little too full most of the time. And when the mice come around, they notice that the cat doesn't jump up as fast as it should. And after a time, the fat cat is so well fed and got so much older, it doesn't give a damn about giving into its instincts to kill the mice. So you might go into the kitchen one night and see a mouse on top of the head of the cat. The cat ain't doing nothing. Mice running around. The cat's not on their job. So what you gonna do? The cat has become an enemy of you because it's not doing the things in your best interest. This is how you can tell in spiritual warfare who is who. They may say a kind word to get in, but they never support the interest of where they are. Time and time again. That's a big red flag. So all in all, the bottom line is these satanic forces with smiling faces, these satanic forces who are very intelligent and well engaged in conversation and can echo the mission statement of the country or structure, symbolically I'm speaking, that they're in. Oh, what a great individual. They're talking my talk. But this is how they get in. All you got to do is talk that black talk. And Lance will let you right on in. But I'm here to say, those days are over. You got to be really exceptional to get even close to me. If you're there already, we good. But like Mr. Julius said, there's going to come a time in your life when you're going to want to be alone more and more, and you'll only have not even a handful, not even a half a handful, 2 fingers on the hand of those who you can totally trust because they earned it. You speak on, look, there's a mosquito I just tried to catch. Ooh, I got him. I'm so good. I'm so good. I'm on point. I'm a warrior. Ready for battle. I just threw out my hand like a left jab. Boom, and grabbed him. You ain't biting me. You in my house. Damn it. And we got to adopt this mentality. In a peaceful state, most major countries which we know are hung up on war. It's very profitable. The people up top don't care about the people who are the common folks, because war is hell, but it's also very profitable. But symbolically in spiritual warfare, even in the most peaceful appearing times, we need to have our missiles ready to go at the push of a button. We need to have our weaponry pointed at the potential enemy who is suspect, because the red flag came up that if we're supposed to be allies, but you never did for me anything that I've done for you as a country, you're suspect, because you only came around at the direction oftentimes of other countries who you had a problem with and got rid of. Now they come to turn somebody who is possibly a former ally against you. Well, go on and listen to that bad-bodied entity who works from the shadows, whose life is jacked up. The country might be, if not in poverty, there's something going on with them as long as this country been around that they're not happy with. So they want to see everybody else not happy. And they're going to cause that next country to lose out on what they had with the country that you are, all the resources that you had, all the aid that you gave, all the help that you gave them to reach their goals. That age-old enemy who is defeated and banished still has a problem with you. So they want to turn all the other countries away from you and amp them up. And they realize that after you drop the bomb on them, that former enemy of yours cannot do for them what you've always done. And they will always cause you to lose out. And now you feel stupid because you lost out. So peace is the real way. Transparency is the real way. But even when you do that, these satanic spirits in spiritual warfare always think that's a sign of weakness. But like that gangster who is soft-spoken, like that gangster who would give away free turkeys to the poor neighborhoods, doing good deeds, even though his businesses may be something negative, you wouldn't know it because he's a gentleman. And you say to yourself, I can get over. You make somebody amp you up and step to that gangster, and he's stepping over you on the east side of Manhattan, symbolically, and you're laying in the pool of your own blood. He jumps in his limousine and goes home to have a good night's sleep. Just want to say that I love you all. Just want to say, for those who want to support the channel, feel free here. I'll leave this up. Many people who have tried went to wrong places. These are the official ways to support this work. We've been online coming this February for 23 years. 23 years. People have come and they've gone because they're not built for this. When you stand on truth and keep it transparent and keep it real, I'm not going to be nice about it no more. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the body of work. I'm not a fly-by-night huckster. I don't even try to say, hit the cash app, hit the cash. If you want to, fine, because we know people have it hard out here. But if you feel to do so, this is the way. Because there's been a lot of hijacked things going on in my world you would not believe. And if pushed, when I write the book, I'll name names. Don't you mess with me. Because if you know me real good, I'll do it. But I'm not here for drama, because this is not the type of channel for that. We have fun, we tell our jokes, all that good stuff. But the bottom line is that at the end of the day, We're here for a short time. We're here to ascend. And we're here to go to a higher place. Because while we're on this plane, this planet called Earth, breathing this air, eating this food, learning about the things on a higher level as we should be, that's the only thing we can take with us, is that ascension in our spirit. All of the other rabble-rousing, all of the other hurt egos, all of the other people who are disgruntled with the hand they were handed out of the deck of life, who don't want to do their own homework, I pity you, but I'm going to keep on going. If I'm here for another 2 years, 10 years, another 23 years, another 100 years, I submit to what is right, and that's going to be what covers me as I battle spiritual warfare with these entities who think they can challenge me with their primitive skills, as Mike Tyson has said. But it's not because of me I'm so great. It's what covers me, that creator. It may be a word I cut that may be a bit adult. I'll tell a story that may be a little too over the top, too much information. But at the core, when you have a mission, not all the prophets in the Bible were perfect. Sometimes we focus on the flaws that they will try to work on and not what they've accomplished and what they've done for the world around them. And I don't put myself on that level. I'm just a servant of the people, and I'll continue to talk with every ounce of strength and breath. Try to do the right thing, but don't think because I'm soft-spoken that I won't put one between your eyes, step over you, and enjoy my day. Enjoy your day, family. I just had to say these things. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and we will be back on later on. Nourish yourself, hydrate yourself, rest yourself, always stay in balance, and always know what's lurking under that rock. Much love to you all. LANCESCURV out. Peace.
Yes, I got to meet my friend Lance. This is my first time meeting him in person, and he's a very kind man, seriously. I do talk with him on phone, on WhatsApp, but I've never got to meet him. But today, he's just extraordinary. He's very, anything you want to know about life, anything you want to know about just human, anything you want to know about life, please. YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media channels, you got to find him there. He's very inspiring. He's very positive. If you want anything positive about life, please subscribe to LANCESCURV. And then every day you got to see different videos, different talks, different topics about life. See you.